Hi, Sam Riley. Going to start the conclusion now. After having seen the teacher do go through the process and do all that kind of stuff, it was really a really great lesson. Good times. She does a pretty great job using the Gibbs circle deal. Excuse me, using the Gibbs theory here. We're going to go ahead and kind of roll through there. She started off with she took about 10 minutes to go over grammar. And not only did she go over grammar, she had a nice setup. The kids knew what to do, which I think is very important. They knew at the beginning to go in and get their notebooks. They get their notebooks every day. This is a process that they do every day. Sorry, let me adjust that a little bit. I think that having that in your class, having the expectations of, hey, this is what we do every day. This is regimented. We're going to go through here. By doing that, you, number one, get rid of discipline problems. You don't have kids frantically going everywhere, but you also, you end up with an expectation for the kids, and that's very important. But she started off with this how to say a lot, and it sounds stupid, but it's something that I didn't kind of know, but I do it, but I didn't know I knew it. And up on the board, she had used a ladybug, which is just a projection type thing, and she was writing along with the kids. And so she said that each period she does the same thing. She'll do it with the students, which I think is very important for buy-in, and try to get the buy-in from the kids, and really just showing them, hey, I'm doing this too. I'm not putting you through anything that I'm not doing myself. So that happened. She had a great presentation on that. Used the ladybug, went up and used actually cartoons that she called it a lot monster. And I don't know if that's a real thing or not because I'm not really that great at English. But the a lot monster, and then she showed different sentences and examples of how the a lot monster, ALOT combined, could have all these situations and everything like that. So she had a PowerPoint put together with this a lot monster and how it worked and all that kind of stuff. So, goofy kind of way, but once again, you got to get goofy with kids sometimes. And the kids were engaged, and that was kind of the big thing. You can hear giggling, you can hear, that kind of stuff. It's one of the ways that she gets buy-in from her kids and gets them that engagement and everything like that. But she did a great job with that. From there, she went and read aloud To Kill a Mockingbird. She read the end of chapter 1 and then all of chapter 2. And as we talked about that a little bit afterwards, it's not something that she does all the time. She says she feels that there are certain parts where she needs to read it. She can put emphasis on things, but just the voice, up and down voice, the different characters, things like that. That helps the kids to see that she's engaged, and that she is part of this and enjoys this. And let's be honest, we're all going to learn better from a teacher who enjoys what they're teaching. And so that kind of shows that. And we talked about it afterwards, and I said, what you couldn't see was the kid in the back corner who's, half off in a daze and not paying attention and all that kind of stuff. And she said that is one of the drawbacks of doing it that way and reading it aloud, is that you lose the fact that you can observe what's going on in your classroom, and that's a little difficult. But she said this is not the norm. She also goes at it. She makes them read it, and then she makes them listen to it, and so they listen to an audio version of it as they read along. So there's a couple different ways to present and to get through this novel that she's working on and everything like that. So I think the varied ways of presenting definitely helps to number one, reach a bunch of different kind of learners. Excuse me. But also helps her to, she can walk around and keep people on task and make sure that they're doing things, stuff like that. This was just one way that she goes about doing that. At the end, when she was finished, they went back and talked about. Had basically fill in the blank notes. They were prompted with a question, and then she kind of filled in the answer for them, made sure they did it, asked the kids aloud, hey, what kind of stuff are you getting out of this? What happened when Dill did this? What happened when this happened? And was getting responses back from the students. So you could tell who was a little bit engaged and stuff like that. One thing that I think she probably could have done a little bit better was to go and ask on certain students. Possibly, not leaving it up in the air for just group. And she says she does that sometimes too. This time it was just a little more, it's what it is. But asking a certain student, going on that limb and things like that, lets all the other students know, hey, I could get called on. And so that's a good strategy also. When I was looking at it, one of the things that I was worried about was the student engagement. There was just one kid in the back corner that was kind of, off in a daze and everything like that, which you're going to get that sometimes. But she wasn't able to redirect that and get that back in. So I think that, I think that the strategy is great. I think that the idea of the overall strategy that the English department is going to, I think, is great. Dividing it up into times. Here's, a small portion dedicated to grammar and things like that. Here's a portion that will be dedicated to the book, and then at the end, having they had another aspect of English that they were taking over. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I didn't stay for the whole thing, but she had another aspect, and so they don't break it up. They break it up into anywhere from 10 to 20-minute segments, and so I think that's a great job. Dealing what sense can I make of the situation? I think that she's doing a great job. I think the English department as a whole is doing a great job, but I think the benefit of that is that they almost teach different subjects in English. You have grammar, you have literature, you have a different section here as opposed to a history, which is more of a timeline, and so it's more flowing. So I think it's a great idea, it's a great strategy, and it needs to be used more in different classes. Because the days of being able to engage a student for 40 minutes is just not there anymore. It's pretty difficult. What else could she have done? I think that, by having them read aloud, by having them read on their own, I think by having them do those kinds of things that, you can get different ways of learning, different ways of staying on task and doing that kind of stuff, listening to the audio. All those things are great, and she does them. So that was a good thing. I'm just seeing a very small picture of what she does, and so by listening to her and what she talks about, I think that she's definitely doing a good job of covering the spectrum there. I wish, talking about the action plan, if it arose again, what would you do? I think that, I would probably tell her, limit the times that you read. I understand why you do it. I know why you do it, but limit that time because it's harder to keep kids on task when you're as engaged as you are in reading. And I think that it does a good job of showing the kids you're interested of doing that kind of stuff, but it's also a little bit harder to redirect, to get focus, that kind of stuff. It's a little easier for a kid to kind of, start counting ceiling tiles than it is to go that. Overall, man, she's phenomenal, and she is one of our best teachers on campus. She does an amazing job, and she's the lead of the sophomores, which tells you that it's a tested area there, tested section, so she's a lead of that. She does a great job. Overall, I thought it was a great experience. It's nice to kind of see how the other half lives, what goes on in other people's classrooms and stuff like that. But she's doing a phenomenal job. So I appreciate you, and I hope this was what you were looking for. Thank you.